So now we can go ahead and use the if statement within an actual Xcode project. So let's go ahead and create a new single view application. We'll call this if project, and we'll go ahead and save this guy. And within our storyboard right away, we'll be putting in 3 buttons. And these buttons are what you can call doors. And basically what the user has to do is guess the winning door. So we'll go ahead and call this door 1, door 2, door 3, and we'll put in 2 labels. One will say guess which door is the correct door, and this one will be our score. So we'll signify that with a 0 and make the text field as big as any number should probably ever need to get. So we'll say guess the winning door, and we'll go ahead center that guy. We'll hide our utilities and show our this guy, will show our view controller file. We'll hide this one and move this guy. And so what we have is 3 buttons which are going to be used with action. So if the user presses the button, it will do an action and run the following code. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to create a variable called x, and x is going to hold a random value from 1 to 3. So how to generate a random variable will be arc, and then I just type in uniform because I don't want to look at the 4 and then type in random. So arc for random underscore uniform, and it should automatically pop up, select it, press enter. And we want it to go from 0 to 2. So our highest value should be 3 because it'll not approach 3, or it's going to approach 3 but never hit 3. And so now we have a random number 0, 1, and 2 that can be generated. And we'll just convert this to an int. Okay, and so now you can either use this or you can make it simpler on your mind and add 1. So now what just happened is our range of numbers 0, 1, 2 is now can be incremented by 1, and so now our range will include 1, 2, and 3. So now what we did was we randomly generated an x variable value number, and we can say if the door 1, because we'll be saying if door 1, if the x is equal to 1, then you have your score incremented if you pressed door 1. So door 1 is an action, and we'll call this door 1 pressed. And we'll go ahead and do this with all the doors. And make sure that you select action. And so what I'm doing is I'm just control clicking and dragging the button over onto the view controller. Okay, so we have 3 actions, our 3 doors, our 3 buttons. If door 1 is pressed, we can say if x is equal to 1 when door 1 is pressed, then our score will increase. If the user hits door 2, then we can say if x equals 2 when door 2 is pressed, then increment our score. And same goes with 3, except when x is equal to 3. So let's go ahead and type in what that would be. If x is equal to 1, we'll do the following code. And if it's not, it won't do the following code, and it'll move to all this code right over here, which we'll type in a little bit. And we're using double equals as a way to check for equality. If we use a single equals, that means that we're assigning x a value of something. And right now we're wanting to check if x is equal to a value of something. So we'll check if x is equal to double equals 1, then our score will get incremented. But how do we increment the score? So this guy is a label, and it should be referenced with an outlet. So we'll go ahead and put that guy underneath our class line over there. It's an outlet, and we'll call this score. And so what we just did is we created an outlet variable called score, and that links up with this label right here. And we'll go ahead and create a new variable that actually keeps count, and we'll call this score count is equal to 0. So right away your score count is 0 and there is no score, and it's automatically 0 because we typed in 0 over here. And score count will be keeping track of our score, and if the user clicks on door 1, if our value of x is 1, we'll go ahead and increment score count right away. Score count is equal to whatever score count was, score count plus 1. Another way to write this is score count plus equals 1. And this is a shorthand version of writing this guy out. Either way would work, except this way is much more concise. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one. Alright, and so now we change score count, and we have to change the actual text of this label. And so this label is with score. It's linked up with score. So we'll say score.text because we want to access score's text property. So we go ahead and type in score.text is equal to a string, and we'll capture score count's value by using the slash and parentheses, and within the parentheses we'll type in score count. Okay, so what we just did is if door 1 is pressed, or when door 1 is pressed, if x is equal to 1, because it's randomly generated, if it equals 1, our score count will increase, and our score.text property is going to be whatever score count is. So now if it does not equal that, we do not want to increment score count, so we don't have to worry about that. Score.text, the score will not change at all. But we want to randomly generate a new x value. So what we have to do now is essentially just copy that line of code and then paste it right over here. So we're just reassigning x to be a new random number, 0 to 2, and then we'll add 1 to our range, so then it'll be from 1 to 3. And we don't need to put var in front of this guy right over here, because this one just declares what type of variable it is, like if whether it's a variable that will change or if we're going to be using let, which is a constant. And since we're changing x, we're going to be using var, and we only need to show that the first time that we instantiate that variable. So we just randomly generated x's value again. If this guy has been the correct one, or if it has not. So if it goes through and says x is actually equal to 1, it'll do this whole thing, and then it'll go ahead and do this line of code. And if it's not equal to 1, it's still going to go ahead and do that random line of code. So what we have to do now is just copy this code and put it into door 2. Except now what we got to change is check if it equals 2 and put it in over here and see if x is equal to 3. And this should be saying if door 2 is pressed, if x is equal to 2, increment the score, change our score.text, and then reassign x. Same thing with score 3, except with x is equaling 3. So we can go ahead and test this out, see if there's any bugs right now. And as you can see, we have guessed the winning door, so we'll guess 1. Ooh, that's not the door, but I'm going to keep pressing 1 until it is the door. Okay, so now it is the door. Now I want to guess that it's 2. Oh, so now it is door 2. So it's not door 2, not door 2. Now it is door 3. So we can go ahead and take this one step further, and every time you guess the wrong door, you're going to be minimized or penalized. So we can go ahead and say else. Okay, so we're saying if door 1 is pressed, if x equals 1, increment the score and do this, else score count minus equals 1. So we're going to subtract the score count by 1. if you want to be nice, or you can say -2 for every time you get it wrong. You'll be subtracted 2 points, whatever the case may be. So we can go ahead and change our text property right here, and so we can just copy this guy right over here and then put it over here. And so what we just did is say, for door 1, if it is the correct value, increment the score, otherwise decrement the score, and then reassign the random variable. And this happens for door 2 and 3 as well. We'll go ahead, save this, run it, and we should have it working. Alright, no errors. Okay, so guess the winning door. Oh, -1. Okay, it was the correct door. Oh, -1, -2, -1. Okay, that was the correct door that time. And basically, you've just created a very basic project using if statements, and you learned a little bit about the random number. And so that's essentially what this project is. And this is a very small and simple project, and if you wanted to take it further, you definitely could. You just have to think about what other things that you could do with this. I just wanted to show you a very simple project, just to let you have access to code, which then you can manipulate and make things the way that you want. And so that's essentially it for this video. If you like this video, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week then.